Howdy there, folks. This is Mark.
And Sarah.
We're Hebrew Shebrew, and we're going to be looking into the Torah portions. We're starting where we should start, Bereshit, in the beginning. This is Genesis 1:1 through 6:8. And we are going to look at the Torah portions through the lens of relationships. We do have some experience doing this in a prior time. We didn't record any of it though. So we wanted to go ahead and start doing this from the beginning, from this first cycle, and move our way through all of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, the whole Torah cycle, looking at all the different relationship issues that come up in every portion. Obviously, we're not going to spend hours doing this. It's probably going to be about 15 to 20 minutes. But we're going to try and find some key points that we can use to impact and apply in our relationships in the here and in the now.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So we hope you stay tuned and subscribe and follow all of our different channels that we will be posting and commenting down below, so you are able to figure that out and follow us along as well. Make sure you grab your word, your sword, so you have it with you, and also write down your key points, your key takeaways when you look at it through the lens of relationships, either relationships with your fellow believer and your fellow friends and family, and also in regards to your spouse or your future spouse as well. That's the lens that we're going to be focusing on for this next Torah cycle. So this is going to be a lot of fun for the next year, looking through this lens. So let's dig in. You ready? Here we go.
The first point that I'm going to just talk about, we actually get right to it in Genesis 1, chapter 2. And the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the spirit of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. So here I see a thing that we can look at about the term formless and deep, or formless and void. And this describes our lives in a lot of ways. And we see that the earth was formless and empty in the same way that we are, and then the Spirit of God is hovering over us and beginning to shape us and craft us into the man, into the woman, into the husband, into the spouse that He created us to be, inside of the relationships that we're looking for with each other on a human level, but also crafting us to be able to have the relationship that He desires to have with us, between Him and man.
Yeah, the part that I got probably a little bit further down is the Spirit was moving, and you have light and darkness in day one. And you want to be able to find that harmony within somebody. You want to have that lightness together. You want to be able to have fun together. And sometimes everything is not all rainbows and unicorns. You know, you are going to have some hard times, some trials in your life, and so you are going to have some darkness that happens. But hopefully each of you are able to draw that back to God and be able to be like, hey, let's refocus again. Let's go back to our relationship with God, so we are not formless and void.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Another big concept that we can look at inside of chapter 1 is the ideas of seed, the ideas of fruit,
Yes.
the ideas of good. I'm going to let Sarah talk a little bit about the seed and the fruit. I'm just going to touch on a fact that many of you probably already know, that the word good is describing something that is functioning according to the purpose for which it was created. Maybe you found that purpose already and you're walking in it. That's awesome. Maybe you haven't found that purpose yet. But definitely the idea of the seed and the fruit and producing after its kind. We have a good thought to share with you on that.
So seed, that comes from verse 11, is the seed. What kind of seed are you producing? You know, if you are an apple tree, okay, let's take fruits as an example. If you're an apple tree, you are going to produce apples on your apple tree. If you are showing kindness, then you are going to produce kindness. If you are showing hatred, you are going to produce hatred. So what's in your heart, what's in your seed, what you have inside of you is going to come out within your relationships that you have within your family and your friends, and especially amongst your spouse as well. So what kind of seed are you producing? Are you producing a good seed, or are you producing a bad seed? And of course, we don't want to have the bad seeds. So we want to go ahead and produce the good seed and have that come out from us. So that means we need to take in those good seeds as well. You know, we need to take in God's word and have that seed produce inside of us so we can give it out.
That's so great. And, you know, the concept of according to its kind, you know, if you're putting out a certain thing, if you're putting out a negativity, you can expect to reap according to that kind.
Yeah.
If you're putting out a pleasantness or a gentleness, you should be able to reap according to that kind. It's just know that as you're trying to find somebody, you know, it's an old saying: if you want to make friends, then be friendly. It's you know, you've got to work on yourself to make sure that you're putting out, you know, the right things, the right image, as it were. And that would take us maybe to the next point.
Yeah.
Over here in verse 27, it says that Elohim created the man in his image. In the image of Elohim he created him. Male and female he created them. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said to them, be fruitful and increase, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over all the creeping creatures on the earth. So right here we get the idea, the fundamental idea, that we are the image bearers of Elohim here on the earth. So I don't know about you, but the kind of person that I was looking for when I was looking for a wife is someone who was bearing the image of Elohim, someone who was trying to walk after and follow him.
Yep.
Because if you're acting in accordance with what he has instructed us to do, then I don't know, that's just the kind of person that you want to be with. That's going to bear that good fruit that we were talking about.
Yeah, and we are images of God. You know, he created us in his image. And so what does that mean? Well, that's his character, you know, his way of doing things. And so if we're supposed to be like him, then we need to exhibit those characteristics. So you want to study what those characteristics of Yah is and are. And when you're looking for somebody, does that person exhibit those same kind of characteristics? And so just take that into account when you are looking for those things. And if you are already married and your spouse does not exhibit that, or you don't exhibit that, you can change.
Get to work.
Get to work on it. And you can also start praying that your spouse starts exhibiting that, you know, and God can work on them by working on you as well to be able to have that image bearer and to be an image of him. Yeah.
We'll move on into chapter 2.
Sounds good.
And I'm going to go right on down to verse 18. And Yah, Elohim said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him as his counterpart. We'll probably bounce back to this idea throughout our Torah readings. But here we have, you know, Yah himself saying it's not good for a man. Here the word is more than likely Adam, you know, so it's more the word for humanity. It's not good for you to be alone. It's good for you to have a counterpart. Yeah. The Hebrew for the counterpart is ezer kenegdo, and it's someone that is not it's not exactly like you. It's a counterpart that is equal to you, someone to help you to become one, as we will see later in this chapter.
Yeah. and that person is going to go ahead and help you grow. You're both going to be able to grow together versus growing apart, and it's fun to be able to do life together with somebody, and especially when both people are walking the same walk.
Yeah.
And doing the same thing and wanting to go ahead and learn. And so that's just good to be able to look for, does this person exhibit these things? And again, are they going to be a helpmate? Are they in your corner cheering you on, for your dreams and your goals that you have in life?
And that's so important, because as we get to the end of this chapter, it says in verse 24, "For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." Echad. And to become one flesh with someone who is not on the same journey as you, someone who has got different goals, different ways of life, that's difficult, because now you've become one, but you're not acting as one.
Yeah. You're going down sort of the same path, but your paths are slowly separating from each other, And if you're able to sort of prevent that or stop that before you get married to somebody, who's not on the same path as you, you're able to not walk down that road. Versus if you are already in a relationship like that, then you need to re-steer and refocus, of where that relationship is going, and what can I do to go ahead and change this and go in the right direction. Sometimes it's us that needs to change, sometimes it's both people that need to change, but a lot of it is our attitude of what needs to go ahead and happen and change. So
all right, we'll get into chapter 3, and chapter 3 is, sadly, it is a story of broken relationship. And we can't spend too much time on this. We're 10 minutes in already, but just the idea here is that there was a whole relationship between God and between the man and between the woman, and the man and the woman, that is, allowed something to snake its way in and separate them and bring a barrier into the relationship between them and God. But the beautiful thing that we see here, and we're supposed to be imitators of God, we're his image bearers. What do we see God doing in verse 9? And Yah Elohim called unto Adam and said to him, "Where are you?" He called after Adam. He was seeking him and giving Adam the opportunity to, like, this thing's broken. Let's get this thing fixed. And that's our job in our relationships as well. When something has created a barrier, then one of us, hopefully both of us, want to mend the relationship, but one of us is going to have to call out to the other.
Yeah, just like God calls out to us, he's always seeking to hang out with his kids. He wants to spend time with his kids. And so I think that's really cool in regards to him saying, "Hey, where are you?" He knew where they were. Come on, he's God. He knows where they are, but he still calls out to them just like he calls out to us, and to that part too is, let's not add to each other's words. That's why it's always good to get clarity of, what did you mean by this? What did you say by this? This whole chapter is miscommunication and misinformation, and not giving the whole truth, or not giving the whole story of what has taken place, if you look at it that way.
Yep.
And it's communication, bottom line is communication, and don't add to God's word, don't take away from God's word, but actually go for what he's actually saying.
That's about all that we can put on that. That's a beautiful bow tie. Now, of course, there's lots of things you can get out of these chapters. We're focused in on relationships, so you can see just in the matter of this, we're coming at it from the idea of broken relationship because of bad communication.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And when you have the bad communication, own it. In my notes I have own your own crap.
Yep.
Seriously, like own your own issues. If you have issues, own it. If you were wrong, own it. It's okay to go ahead and apologize and be like, hey babe, hey mom, hey dad, I'm so sorry that I screwed up. I'm so sorry that I did this. Or even saying it to God and be like, I'm so sorry, God, that I screwed this up. Will you please forgive me? Of course he is. Of course your family members are. They're going to go ahead and do that because you're coming to them with a remorseful heart. You're coming to them because you're wanting to go ahead and learn and grow closer to those relationships.
We'll move on now. Of course, in chapter 4 and chapter 5 and the rest of chapter 6, we're beginning to see how the offspring of Adam and Chava, Eve, are beginning to walk, how they're beginning to live. We do even see, as we get into chapter 5, that we've got this man named Enoch, who walked with God.
Yeah.
Now, what does walking with God mean? I know that's something that all of us would like to say. I walk with God. What does that really mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that we can put a definitive stamp on it and this is what it is, but definitely one thing that I think it means to us is it's living in a way that is aligned with Him.
Yeah.
Living in a way that, the way He thinks is beginning to be the way you think, and the way He speaks is the way that you speak. The way that He acts is the way that you act. That would definitely be, I think, at least a big chunk of what it means to walk with God.
Yeah, I think so too, and again, it goes back to, are we being an image of God? Are we showing His characteristics? And where do we find that information out? In His Word, by reading His Word, by looking at it, by seeing, okay, what did Yeshua do? How did He walk? And how is it that I need to go ahead and walk? If I'm supposed to be His image, what does that really mean? And to find that out, you need to dig into your Word to be able to see what that is.
That's great.
Yeah.
And just like Enoch, and we'll see later Noah walked with God. In that same way, we want to be able to walk with our spouse. It says somewhere in the prophets, I can't get it for you right now, you can find it. How can two walk together unless there be agreement? In some translation, that's what it says, probably the King James Version. But it's so true. It's just like we were talking about before. It's not good for man to be alone. So God made the Ezer Kenegdo, the counterpart, so that they could become Echad. And, the way that you're going to have that true oneness and that true shalom, that peace and wholeness and well-being, is if your thoughts and your words and your actions, your goals, all of these things are aligned. You're heading in the same direction, heading towards a common goal. So, yes, first and foremost, we want to walk with God.
Yeah.
But we also want to walk with a spouse, a fellow human being. If you're a man, it's a wife. If you're a wife, it's a husband. Walking towards a common goal, which is basically both of you walking with God into His kingdom.
Yeah. Yep. And as we continue on in this next section of the Torah portion, continue on this journey with us. We look forward to continuing this segment next time. And so again, go ahead and like and subscribe so you guys can be notified when the next video gets uploaded. Hope you have a great day.
Shalom, shalom.